Hi everybody, it's Terrence Johnson, aka Noir Auteur, and welcome to the first episode of my YouTube channel. I decided to get into the space because I really wanted to be able to talk about things on a more consistent basis, and also use this wonderful YouTube platform that we have here to be able to engage people in a different way. It's going to be really fun. I'm planning to talk about movies, TV, news, pop culture, all with my own spin on it, and be able to just get into the topics and what I think are really important for us to know. I'm thinking about doing these on a weekly basis because, as John Oliver proved and said, nothing says sustainability like doing a show that recaps news a week after it's aired. So yeah, this should be fun, and let's just dive right into our topics. And the first topic that we're going to cover today is the Bruce Jenner interview. Like many of you, I was very, very skeptical when I heard about Bruce Jenner doing, or basically just the Kardashians doing anything on TV. But luckily he's not a Kardashian, so we know that it wasn't going to be a mess. Bruce Jenner did an interview with Diane Sawyer where he basically stated to the world that he is a trans woman, and that he is transitioning. And at the time, it was a really, really intriguing piece. So Bruce Jenner talked about his process, and it was just a really, really interesting interview. Diane Sawyer didn't ask like too many deep and probing questions. She really took the position of the audience in making sure that, we were just asking the simple things for people who may not be able to understand what Bruce is going through. And I, for one, have to commend Bruce Jenner for his bravery in being able to do this. I mean, we've seen in the news a lot of trans women and trans men being killed. And one of the ways to combat these issues is through visibility and understanding of everyone's situation. And so I think it was really great that he was able to go and do this interview. And surprisingly, none of the other ones showed up. And by other ones, I mean the Kardashians that we really don't care for. And which was great because, it was really about him. It didn't feel like a publicity stunt. It felt very sincere to me. And I was really glad that he was able to get his truth out there in the world. And you might notice that I've been using the pronouns he and his, because he has mentioned specifically that until further notice, he wants to still use the proper pronouns of he and him and his, which is something that we should all be wary of whenever we're addressing somebody in this community.
What I agree with is that I advocate people to peacefully protest. I also know that pain manifests in different ways, and I don't have to condone it to understand it. People are grieving and people are mourning. And I would advocate personally for people to do it in ways that you are calling peacefully. But again, I also know that Freddie Gray will never be back and that those windows will be.
So if you've been paying attention to the news lately, you've probably heard a lot about the Baltimore Riots and how they stemmed from the unexplained death of Freddie Gray. It's just one of the many instances that we keep having in this country about black men being gunned down by the police. Not just black men, I should say black people, because black women have suffered very much the same. And this is something that I wasn't really sure I wanted to talk about in a first video. I mean, we need to know about what's happening, and you might as well get my take on it. I feel that the way all of this is shaken down is just emblematic of just the lack of respect and lack of understanding with what the racial issues really are in this country. So many times, I mean, black people have just been saying forever about how we're mistreated. And what I find really interesting about this whole deal is how the media has been covering it. It's always, anytime there's like this outpouring of violence or outpouring of emotion from a people who have been sort of put down and, have decided enough is enough, it's always on them to be like, oh, why are you guys being so violent? Or, oh, why are you rioting? And blah, 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 blah. And you breaking up this property, it's not going to mean anything. Listen, I don't understand how black people are just expected to toe the line every single time. We're expected to be perfect. We're expected to not do anything despite all of the injustices that happen against us. And yet, when we demand accountability, it's not there. I mean, all of this just really got boiled down into two comments. One that I saw on Twitter from Jesse Williams, an actor who I have mad respect for. Even though he has like everything on the line, he is always willing to step up for us, mentioning that, people are so upset about the rioting and the looting. They're upset about these material things that can always be replaced, like windows. But somebody died. Like, that was somebody's child, and they're not going to be able to get them back. And yet there's no outpouring of this kind of emotion for them other than the people. I mean, it's at this point, we really just have to hold the police accountable. And I wish more police officers and the police union would come out on the side and saying, hey, we're going to do our best to make sure that these cops are not on the streets, and that we're making sure that all of our police officers understand the law and how to administer it, because there's nothing worse than having a group of people who are supposed to protect you not do that. And we've seen time and time again that that does not happen. And you know the situation is getting a mess when even Bill fucking O'Reilly on an O'Reilly Factor makes a note about it, which is insanity, even though Fox News is trash, but we won't get into that today. That's a topic for another day. I'm just really disappointed in how these things keep happening, and how the language and the media coverage of which we use to deal with this. Like, we never show the peaceful side on the media. It's always, oh, these people are thugs, and it's always decrying the violence while not getting down to what initially sparked the situation off. And I think that if we did better at dealing with that, we wouldn't be in this fucking mess in the first place. I don't want to talk too much about this because I'm gonna be really mad. Let's move on to violence of another kind and talk about the Avengers. In big movie news, Marvel's The Avengers Age of Ultron is coming out this weekend. I'm sure many of you will have seen it even by the time this video is released. I did a review over at my website, Noir Auteur, and you should go check it out. I enjoyed the movie, although I do think it tends to suffer a bit from sort of the weight of having to be this outsized sequel. We know this is Joss Whedon's last Avengers film, and you can definitely feel it. But I thought, what would be the perfect way to review this movie, to give you a snapshot of what I wrote on my page. And so I'm going to give you this Avengers review in 15 seconds or less, starting now. And the Hulkbuster. Well, that's Avengers Age of Ultron. It's definitely, I'm sure what I have to say will have nothing on the bearing of you going to see this movie. I'm interested to see where the Marvel Cinematic Universe goes from here. One of the things that was announced this past week was the Tony Awards. I mean, if you're like me and you love Broadway, it's one of your favorite holidays, is getting to try and figure out who was going to be up for the major awards. And it's looking like it's going to be a battle between two adaptations, Fun Home and American in Paris, for Best Musical. Each of them got 12 nominations. All of the main versions of The Girl and Fun Home were nominated. There was lots of love for On the 20th Century Fox. Kristen Chenoweth is going to be up for an award, which it's always great to see her back. Cheetah Rivera is up at age 82 for another Tony. And it's just really, really great. I'm really excited for the show, to see the performances and to see which plays will win. I mean, it's been a really interesting season on Broadway, and I will be up in New York in July to be able to take in all of the best of everything, and just to see what's going to happen. That's all I have for topics today. But before we go, two quick things. One, I'm starting to create a weekly Obsessions playlist, which you can see on my YouTube channel down below on the front page, and they'll probably be in the title card that you see, where I just chronicle videos or things that I'm being really obsessed with. One of which is the Todrick Hall video, where he mashes up all of Beyonce's albums, which I just think is phenomenal. It moves from everything from Josh Groban and Audra McDonald singing to the only Davey Wavy video that has ever made me laugh, with him and Stephen Grand. Secondly, one of the most important things about YouTube is the community, and so what I would love for you guys to do is to send me links to any topics that you think might be interesting to cover. You can send them to me on Twitter at Noir Auteur, that's LENOIRAUTEUR, or you can put it down in the comments, and I really want to get you guys involved in helping me with the show. And you can also subscribe. Subscribing is the best way to help me grow, and it'll let me know that you want me to continue just spewing off random nonsense about things that you may or may not care about. And so with that, I'm Terrence Johnson, aka Noir Auteur, and I'll see you next week.